All right, I just thought about something and I want to get it on camera as I explore this idea, this isomorphism I just found. All right, so I'm noticing a similarity between how I travel the world right now and how I used to study things in university about how many years ago? Almost 20 years ago now. 18, say 12 to 18 years ago, roughly, when I was in college for the first time. I really liked the kind of freedom of study that I found in university, as well as languages. I really wanted to study a ton of languages, so I started with Chinese and Japanese, and that seemed extremely hard. And there were 5 credit courses, so they were big compared to the other 3 credit courses. And the more exotic, the better. I didn't really want to learn Spanish and French. I wanted to learn the hard ones. I wanted to learn Chinese, Japanese, and then Irish and Ojibwe and more obscure niche ones with way less speakers. Anyway, I got really obsessed with my schedule planning. Nobody knew about this. This was a really private thing. I didn't really seem scheduled or organized in a certain sense in the real world, and I definitely wasn't scheduled to the curriculum of specific classes in order to get straight A's, in order to make money. That wasn't my path then, but I really liked the idea of creating my plans in such a way and designing my school schedule in such a way where I would learn everything, especially if it intuitively lit up to me or if it was really exciting to me. I loved the idea of doing that. And later on, the second time I went to college, community college, I ended up one semester with literally 17 classes at once. And I can't remember if I burned out or I probably burned out in some sense. And I was using smart drugs. But the first time I wasn't using smart drugs. I was just probably had caffeine. Speaking of which. But anyway, one thing I didn't really like at all was the prerequisites, not just prerequisites, but the required classes the math classes. I didn't want to deal with math at all. These days there would be more interest in math and things with numbers in general, especially finance, and things that are more related to business, because things that unlock business unlock damn near everything. It seems I think every study is like that if you find a way in that is really where you can find it, a secret of the order of the universe in it. Anyway, I have noticed a similarity between then and now. And so I'm pretty obsessed with my scheduling now, where I'm scheduled really far ahead and I want to go everywhere. Not absolutely everywhere necessarily, but there's an end point with this. I was first of all thinking well, there's not really an end point. How there was an end point in college or in university where the end point was I needed a certain amount of credits. I can't remember what it was. I needed 120 credits or something in order to graduate. And then there were other pieces of logic in there. I needed logic 101 or whatever it was, and algebra 101 or whatever it was, things like that. In those general ed classes that the majority of students would just do those right away. And those students probably were more likely to graduate, even though there's a lot of people who would have done that right away that don't graduate. There's like really low graduation rate, I think, of many colleges, including the one that I went to. But even though I was obsessed with taking as many classes as possible, for one, taking as many credits as I possibly could for the money, and it wasn't just the money, because I wasn't like I either had student loans or it's like I wouldn't go to school unless my family paid for it. And they agreed to in certain places, and then the other half was like it was paid for by financial aid. So it's like the government wants you to do something and you run with them, and it's free. That kind of a thing that exists all over the place. I think it was like if you were full-time in university, you could get between 12 and 18 credits. 4 classes, 4 regular 3-credit classes. It's all coming back to me now. You could get just full-time. And full-time was all you needed to do to get normal full-time financial aid, 12 credits. But I would take 18, and then that was not an overload. You needed a signature from somebody to take overload credits, and I didn't want to do that because I didn't really actually want to talk to anybody else, despite being in classes. That seemed like an extra kind of process that I couldn't just do through a computer, really. And I could add my classes normally on a computer. Anyway, so I would try to get close to 18. I would do 17 or 18 credits per semester. Try to take as much as I possibly could to see as many perspectives of study that I possibly could per semester. And sometimes there would just be a class where I was so poor at it that I would fail it. And that definitely happened some semesters. And some semesters I would fail damn near everything. But then I would still go back the next semester, usually. Other than one semester where I took off to earn money to travel to go to China. But every other semester, and for a long time, like 6 years in there I went. And I don't have a degree. So I didn't finish, right? So here's, and also this time in my life was like back in 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. That's my entire first time at university. And I didn't graduate. But I'm close. Like I have, I think I have 112 credits out of 120 for a bachelor's degree. But I never really knew what I would do with a bachelor's degree. It was never like I wanted that. I saw way more in like what I could be inspired by within all these courses of study. And then what I could personally do with them outside of school or creatively or in my own study or going into the professional world or in business world, even though I didn't see it as business, but like entrepreneurship, small business stuff. That was more interesting to me at the time and probably still now than like following the academic track forever. But anyway, I was thinking like, okay, that was the best time of my life. I would say like the other best time of my life, because right now is the best time of my life. 2024 and 2025, that is the best time of my life. The other best time of my life was 2009 and 2010, and kind of like the years surrounding it. And I just had like a newfound sense of freedom and a million things that were worth being interested in So in 2009, 2010, it was academic study. All of a sudden, instead of having like a strict high school schedule where it was like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. wall-to-wall classes, not much variety in what I could study, and then I get to college and it was like, oh my god, there were so many different things I could study, and the schedule was way more, I could be way more creative with that. So I studied Japanese and Chinese and Ojibwe and Irish and Thai and there's a lot more languages, but I'm forgetting them right now. And then in my spare time, I bought Teach Yourself Cantonese, and I studied that. And by the way, I was taking like a ton of linguistics classes, fell in love with linguistics. I couldn't believe that linguistics was even a study, because at first my major was in English, and it's like I didn't like literature in the same way. But once I found linguistics, it was like, that's really what I care about with language. Because my English scores on tests were always 99th percentile, and I would win spelling bees, and I was obsessed with writing, but not writing like literature, not like reading like literature, although I did read a lot, including fiction. But anyway, I was in love with the amount of freedom I had to study whatever I wanted. I didn't get good grades. My GPA was not good. And certain things I would just like study right from the beginning. And certain things I, like if you could actually grade me on what I've done with that class, like I would have an A plus times a million. Maybe not times a million, just times a few. But I would fail the class maybe because I was never adjusting to the conditions for getting a good grade. I was adjusting to how do I be inspired by and actually like learn this topic. Like let's like start with the title of the topic itself. Like I would get obsessed with that, and my own mind would take it in directions that were, I would say, oftentimes highly intelligent, but not always in line with how to get a good grade. If I got a good grade, it was like by chance. Or like I happened to vibe with the instructor's style, and we got to present something, and I was probably like just into it, and it would have showed, and it's easy to get an A in situations like that. But yeah, I didn't get good grades, but I also didn't see anything beyond that. Like I didn't want to get into the workforce. I wanted to actually study the materials and then like apply them in a bunch of different disparate real life scenarios outside of school, or like create third quark scenarios in between subject matter or whatever. But I hit 112 out of 120 credits and didn't graduate. Why is it similar to now, the other best time of my life? Because, I'll say this. At first I thought, there's no curriculum. There's not no curriculum. There's no credit expectation to finish a degree. But in this world travel quest, I am conscious of the number 193, which is approximately the number of countries there are. Now, being next to Palestine right now, we can include that one. And you can include, I want to include like Abkhazia and South Ossetia and Kurdistan, and bring it up to like 195 or 200 or something like that. I don't know if it's necessarily my goal to see every country, but I've gone from having been to 3 countries. My number was 3 for a long time. Now it's at like 20. And if I keep traveling the way I'm traveling now, I could foreseeably travel to every country. I did some research, and it doesn't seem right. This number seems too low. But I did some research, and it said there are less than 500 people on Earth that have been to every country. I know some of them seem really hard, but over time, there's little gaps where it's okay. Like right now, it's pretty hard, not impossible, but pretty hard for an American to get into Russia. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, easy. I can't freely move around Iran if I go there, but I can still go. Things like that. There's all sorts of things like that. If I go to India before, or if I go to Pakistan before India, it might be harder to get into India. It's already really hard for me to get into India for some reason. Anyway, 193, as many people count it. 195, 200, whatever it is. Interesting connection. When I was in university and I only scored 112 credits out of 120 that I needed to graduate, I wasn't really trying to graduate. I think I found an infinite game that I really liked. And I wanted to live within that for a long time. And I didn't know what was going to happen afterward. So I played that game in such a way that I could actually go back someday. And I told myself, like, when I didn't finish college and I stopped going, and, and then it's like later I went to a community college, but that credit system is totally different. And that was a 2-year degree. And again, I didn't really want a degree because there's other stuff to do in life. There is. And also that wasn't like the clear career path for me either time I went to college. I didn't go to a 2-year college and then a 4-year college. I went to a 4-year college and then an entrepreneurial kind of life, like, or whatever that was. I moved in with a woman. I want to say moved in with a girl, but she's 25 already. I moved in with a woman. I started smoking pot and moved in with a woman, and that was the end of my university times. When I started smoking pot, I got really good at school. All of a sudden, my attendance went to 100%. That wasn't the case before. I didn't always get up to go to classes, even though I was obsessed with the classes, and I loved scheduling and like finding new classes at the beginning of the year. But I always thought that like I could do things mentally for 3 months, but the 4 months it took to finish an entire class was often like impossible for me. And it was just like unfortunate. So now, actually, when I think about that, I'm in the habit of moving every month. I think I would have big problems if I tried to stay somewhere for 4 months at a time, because it would be like if I tried to do something that entire time that included some kind of external grading system or something that I would have to do for 4 months at a time. I could never do that in university. And if my mind works the same way, which I don't know if it does, because a lot has happened in this old thing. This 1 month format works out for me a lot. And also, there's not too many countries that will visa-free let me stay for 4 months at a time. I could do that in Armenia, I could do that in Georgia, I could do that in Albania. There might be a few more. Maybe I could stay in the UK. I don't think I could afford it. But there's a lot of countries that are like, if it's 90 days, approximately 3 months, that's pretty long. Because tons of countries are 30 days, some are even 14 days. Myanmar is 28 days. It's not even a full month. It's just 4 weeks. It's interesting to think about things like this, like it's like a course. I've been in the past referring to spending 1 month in a country as a level. So I've had like a video game metaphor going on, or a video game isomorphic system going on. So like I've played 144 levels of the United States because I was there for 144 months. Does that seem right? No, it's not 144. It's more than that. It's it's gotta be more than that, right? By a lot. It's some meaningful number that I can't remember. But anyway, after the United States, which is like, I've done way more levels than that. Philippines, I'm at level 4. I've completed level 4. Just means I've been there for 4 months. And then after that, it's like Malaysia, 2 months. China, 2 months. And then a bunch of other countries, just 1 month. So 1 level, as I've been thinking about that. But what if I viewed them as courses, classes in a university? That's actually how it started. The first time I ever went to a foreign country, I took a course that was travel abroad to Taipei, Taiwan for 18 days. That was an entire course, 3 credits, life-changing. And I still want to keep going back there. I went there last year, and I am scheduled to go there again later this year, inshallah. Instead of levels, some courses are different lengths. So I could say, like, if I stayed in one place for a fortnight, or a month, or 2 months, or 3 months, or God forbid, 4 months, I don't think I could do that because I couldn't do classes. But then I wouldn't be like graded in the same way. Also, I'd be grading myself. Could I finish my own project in 4 months, or is that just too long? I am the university now. maybe I'll do better this time because I set the all the goals now, unless there's that one external goal. Even this is like, it's different. The 193 countries. I apologize if I'm going all over the place. But I see college as a failure in certain ways. One of them because I ended up owing money, ultimately to my family. And then dropping out and just having totally different priorities and I just had totally different priorities. 2011, I saw China for a month. That level or that course, that class was like a bomb to my worldview, a bomb to my brain. And then marijuana, and then cohabitation with a woman, a very provocative thinker, to say the least. All those things like totally changed everything in my life to stop playing the university kind of game that I was playing before. So that's another thing like that could happen again, and I don't want that to happen, and I don't think that it will happen the same way. I think this one will actually be a longer, infinite game. The game that I started playing on January 24th, 2024, when I left the United States, I think I will play this game for 16 years, about maybe 14 years. That is the length of my Guru Mahadasha, Jupiter Mahadasha. And one of these days, I'm actually going to get into India. That's a class I really want to take. But they won't let me in yet for some reason. But I'm going to get there. There's a prerequisite now, it seems, that I have to go back to the USA. But I don't want to do that. Not yet. There's a lot of other things to do first. A lot of other classes to take first. But you know what? What if that India course that I don't get the credits for, in the university that is my own life, what if India ends up being that last 8 credits that I don't get? Just like at university when I only got 112 out of 120. Would it matter? Because what if I would have gotten 120 and graduated university? What would I would have done? What I definitely wanted to do it to be able to travel the world. But there was a missing element to that. I could have been able to travel the world and get a work visa from a specific country, from one country. Even if I made a lot of money, I would only be able to travel sometimes. I wouldn't have this digital nomad life that I have now, unless I started smoking weed and hanging out, living with a woman, and exploring the ideas that she had and the world that she had access to that was not available in any of the classes at university. But it's because of that stuff that I eventually found something I wanted, which is the ability to travel the world. But now I get to do it infinitely more free. Because I don't need a work visa to go to a specific country, to stay there for a long time. I don't have to work for a specific company, at least with the way it's working out now. Thank you, God, for everything that's happened to me. So, should I finish my current degree in school, which is, should I go to every country on earth? Should I become one of the less than 500 people who have done that? I feel like with the influx of digital nomadism, by the time I would get to be one of those less than 500 people, there'd be like 5,000 or 50,000 or some crazy number. It's still way smaller than those who have graduated university. It's way more special, it seems. Should I finish my degree in that sense? Or is there going to be something out of this world that's more important than finishing that?